Hey fellow Metafighters, Laggimus Prime here again, and today I have made a deck that is, well, in my honest opinion, probably the most evil deck I've ever made in my life. And that's coming from somebody who created a deck in Digimon trading card game that could literally skip your opponent's turn. Yes, this is a OTK deck, specifically a Navi Commune OTK deck. And yes, this deck can also work in multiplayer as well as the tower modes and challenges mode. This deck can one-shot an opponent, not on the first turn, probably not even on the second turn, although it has happened on the second turn, but usually maybe about the third, maybe fourth turn, depending on how aggressive your opponent is. But let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get started in some of the highlighted cards. First off being the leader, Navi Commune, and its signature right and left arm. So Navi Commune is a meta change Medabot, but you will not be worrying about that in the slightest. In fact, a lot of the cards or things in this deck, you're not really going to focus too much on. What you're going to be really focusing on is a couple of the Medabots that you get and Navi Commune's left arm. So I should probably explain first what the goal of this deck is. Obviously it is an OTK, but you need to set up for it. And what you need to do is you need Navi Commune to get hit as many times as possible so you can get as many barrier cards into your second hand, or the barrier hand as it's called. And the reason why I'm using Navi Commune for this instead of some other Medabots, but you are completely free to use other leaders. I have seen this strategy be used on others before, but the reason why I use Navi Commune is because of the fact that you will get the tactical stocks from her left and right arm. The meta change, it doesn't matter. The ability herself on her doesn't matter, although if you want to be a little cheeky and give your opponent some extra energy and say hit me more often, because like at the very beginning of the game you only get like 10 or 11, so Navi Commune can give your opponent a couple of extra energy and be like, hey, hit me some more. But yeah, the whole idea of this is you want Navi Commune to be hit as much as possible. But the left arm is the main focus point of the deck. Reason being is because it is an ability that allows you to pay 6 energy, you choose one of your Medabots, and you give your leader's power to that Medabot. Now, usually this is not really all that special in a regular deck because a lot of the Medabots have a huge power boost already. But you can really use this on some of the lower leveled or lower energy discard cost Medabots to give them a significant boost, which will hit the opponent's leader higher than their normal amount unless they have ways to boost their power. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. Usually a leader will only have about 6,000 to 7,000 power, maybe 8. But if they're at 8, you have alternative ways to get up to 9. Or if they're cooled down, you don't have to worry about them hitting your Medabot back. But the whole focus on Navi Commune is just to have those tactical stock prepared because you might need it. But let's look at the alternative arms that you'll need for this deck. Now this is Red Matador's alternative B-type left arm. This is going to be your only other left arm, so keep track of that. This arm is essentially a way to make your opponent target you instead of your support Medabots. The right arm doesn't matter as much, especially since the right arm of Navi Commune is just the way to meta change. That can be sacrificed if you need to, but you need to protect her specific left arm. So use this alternative one. As soon as the game starts, you want to swap it out to this, essentially. But what this alternative left arm does is you pay 2 energy, and it acts as if like a target is placed on you. Navi Commune will gain this target on her, and the opponent can only target her. It can only target with attacks, tactical cards, anything like that. They can't target any of your Medabots that are on the field, but more than likely, sometimes you won't have them any support Medabots because you're wanting to get Navi Commune hit. But you can place some out there just in case, like, oh, they're not going to go for it, or this target thing should make me the target and not my Medabots, so you'll get like a free little prevention of them dying, so they'll be ready for the next turn. But the other right arm here, Dr. Bokchoy arm, it's only there just in case your original right arm gets destroyed, so that way you'll have a backup in case you need another support tactical stock. Now on to the third alternative card here. This is just Marine Healer's right arm. The reason being you're having this is that there are a lot of status effects in the games that can prevent you from doing this OTK or just being able to play in general. And you need at least one recovery tactical stock in order to get rid of status effects. There is a couple of recovery tactical cards that you will run to get rid of negative status effects or even get rid of traps. And there are some Medabots that you also do run that have the recovery tactical stock. So sometimes you may need two, but either way, this is just a way to ensure that you will be able to get rid of negative status effects when you are ready to OTK. Now, as for the final right arm, you want at least a Beastmaster right arm or the other right arm that gives you plus 2,000 power. You're not worrying about the tactical stock on this. This is just in case the opponent's leader manages to get up to 8k or 9k. This will be able to give your Medabot that you're giving that power boost to an extra oomph, so that way it can do the OTK, or you're not having to wait an extra turn or anything like that. This is just a way to enhance that power that you're giving to the Medabot or the support Medabot that's doing the OTK. But speaking of Medabots, that's where we actually get to see what Medabots we're talking about that you're going to be using for the OTK. You kind of wonder what Medabot could you possibly run with this, because it will usually most of them require a lot of energy or a lot of discards in order to actually cool down. Well, these are the two Medabots right here, Twinkle Star and Shiny Star. And you can see right off the bat they require 2 energy to attack with. They only have 2,000 power, but they only cost 1 card to discard in order to rapidly cool. These are your main stars. You want 3 of each of them in your deck because you want to see at least one of them in your hand in order to get the OTK ready. You only need one of them. You don't need 2. You don't need to combo anything. You don't even need to worry about their effects. Nothing about it is going to be a problem whatsoever. This is just going to be the Medabot that you are going to be power boosting and attacking with your opponent whenever you get plenty of cards to be able to rapidly cool. But yes, these 2 little fairies are what's going to completely OTK the opponent. You wouldn't think it would, but it actually does happen more often than you think. The only problem with the deck is if the opponent does have Metaphor Seal, it will completely shut out the strategy a good bit, because the negative status effect, that one can't be solved. Another problem that with the deck has is there is less aggressive play styles, or if the opponent knows what you're doing, then they'll wait out the OTK kind of strategy until they know they can defeat you. But there is something that you can do. There is one way to kind of get past this less aggressive play style, is to run a meta fighter named Minori and Megumi. Now what this meta fighter will do is you activate it, and then at the start of your next turn you take 2 barrier and add it to your barrier hand. Essentially you're forcing yourself to lose 2 barrier. But this is a great card to get on your first turn because you can already start accelerating that OTK, which means you could probably hit it on your second turn or your third turn instead of waiting for your opponent to hit you. But since you can only run 3 in the deck, sometimes it's kind of hard to actually see in your hand in the first turn. You more than likely just want to see the Medabots first and then just let your opponent hit you, if that's the case. But as soon as you see this card in your hand, play it. Now, what medal should you run with this deck? Well, there's a very clear one here. You want to run the King medal with the 2 Metaforce cards, Overdrive and Supercharge. And yes, I still haven't fixed the Metaforce cards yet, but Overdrive can be played at 3 and Supercharge can be played at 4 when they're leveled up. Now, these are very important, especially Supercharge. Overdrive is just a just-in-case Metaforce card, whereas Supercharge is essential for letting you use Navi Commune's left arm for free instead of 6 energy. Because in order to do the OTK, you need all 16 energy. What Overdrive does is it is like I said, just in case you don't have enough energy to complete the OTK, you can use it to get 4 energy to get at least a couple extra attacks in. If you don't have it leveled up, it'll only give you 2. But like I said, when you want to use this, you want to have this medal leveled up first, because if not, you're more than likely the OTK is not going to happen. But I'll go ahead and move on to the full deck list here. You see Navi Commune, you see all the arms, the medal, the card sleeves that I use, and the highlighted cards. But let's go ahead and look at the main deck right here. Now, since you are getting hit a lot, you want some recovery Medabots or repair Medabots. So first things first, you want 3 of Lyrical Nurse. This is just a way to repair your barrier. The effect is if it is turn 4 or later, the number of cards you can choose with this effect becomes up to 2. So if the game tends to go on to at least your 4th turn, you can recover a little bit more. I have had that happen before, but it more than likely you're going to be OTKing in maybe the 2nd or 3rd turn, but it can drag on a little bit depending on the deck you're going against. The next card is May Puppy. You want 3 of this. The reason why is because this will also clear negative status effects and prevent traps from activating. One huge problem with the deck, if you don't have a way to clear a trap or stop traps, you are not going to be able to do the OTK. You need something to stop traps and also the status effects such as Frozen or anything like that, because if it hits your leader and they're not able to activate the effect to give the Medabot or one of the fairies more power, then the fairy is just going to be hitting for 2,000 and it's not going to do anything. So you want something to prevent negative status effects and traps, and this can do both, with the energy cost being super low to do so. Next, you want 3 Goldfin. This is another repair Medabot. It is a little different. Instead of relying on turn 4 and onwards, if you have 4 cards or more in your barrier hand, then you can do what Lyrical Nurse does and put 2 cards as your repair instead of just 1. It's another way to pretty much get that repair going, because like I said, you want a lot of cards in your barrier hand, so sometimes the game needs to go on, so you need to repair so that way you can get more cards and take more hits. And the more you put into that barrier hand or your secondary hand, the more attacks you're going to be able to do. So not only will you have like 6 cards in your hand to start with, especially if you have a Twinkle Star or a Shiny Star on the field before you play or do anything, the more cards that are in your hand and your barrier hand, the better. And then of course you want 3 of each of the Twinkle Star and Shiny Star. Those are the main ones in your deck. When you see one of them in your hand, you don't have to worry about getting another, as long as you don't accidentally get rid of it, or if you try something cheeky and throwing it out there and being like, oh, my Navi commune can take the hit because it's using the targeting thing or the left arm of Red Matador, then you might need at least another one in your hand. But usually I just keep one in my hand and wait until the OTK is ready. But that's all for Medabots. Moving on to tactical cards now, and the first tactical card you want 3 of is Suppression Support. This is just a tactical card that will deal 8,000 damage to a Medabot. There will be problematic cards that you run into, such as a Togi Princess or guarding Medabots that you want to get rid of before the OTK starts. This is one way to do so. The next tactical card is Reconnaissance. It is a 4 barrier card, so you can't use this until you have 4 or fewer barriers, but that'll more than likely happen on turn 1. But anyway, you choose one of your Medabots, and until the end of the turn, when that Medabot destroys a part or barrier of the opponent's leader, choose one opponent part and destroy it. This effect is lost once it activates. What this does is it kind of makes it a little bit easier for you to do the OTK, especially if you don't have enough cards or you don't have enough energy, because you're going to be getting rid of a barrier and a part essentially for free. So it gives your opponents less resources to guard themselves with. As for the last support tactical card, it is Overload. I only run 2 in here, mainly because if you're going to be using this card, it's going to be more than likely used on the recovery Medabots, not to recover with the Twinkle Star or Shiny Star, because of the fact that it only takes 1 card for them to rapidly cool anyway. This is just as a safety measure in case you need another repair or anything like that. Now, these next tactical cards are essential. You need 3 of these recovery tactical cards, the first one being Urgent Care, the second one being Safety Assurance. As I said earlier, in order to get the OTK to even happen, you need to not have negative status effects, and you need to make sure that no traps are going to go off to kill your Medabot before you're actually even able to attack or do anything. Urgent Care will get rid of negative status effects. Safety Assurance will get rid of traps. If you know you're going against a status effect heavy deck, make sure your beginning hand has at least 1 Urgent Care. If you're going against a trap deck, at least make sure you have a May Puppy or the Safety Assurance tactical card. You need to make sure those trap cards aren't going to destroy you the second you activate an ability or anything like that. Now on to the last 2 cards. This is the Meta Fighters. We already talked about Minori and Megumi. So we're going to move on to Samantha. Samantha, you probably already know, like I said, is a staple card in almost every single deck. But usually using it on the fairies are not going to be very beneficial. Like I said, they take one card to rapidly cool, so you're pretty much already using a card to do that. But I more use it on the repair Medabots or something like May Puppies, so that way I don't have to waste a card rapidly cooling them, because they usually take at least 2 or 3. So Samantha in this scenario will be used to help you recover cards more than actually being able to attack faster. But here is one last look of the full deck. I will have a full video on the deck in action soon. You will see us. They've seen the small clip at the very beginning of the OTK happening. Like I said, this deck is quite deadly, especially if the opponent does not know it's coming. You can really hit him with a surprise. But as a quick refresher, real fast. What you want to do with the deck is whenever you're ready to OTK, you activate your Meta Force, which is Supercharge, activate Navi left arm to give one of the fairies your power that your leader has, and then proceed to attack, rapidly cool, attack, rapidly cool. And I will say this, even if your opponent has some blockers you can't get rid of with your tactical cards or anything like that, or even those little shields that protect them from damage, if you have enough barrier cards and enough cards in your hand, it won't matter. Especially if you use your other Meta Force to give you a little bit more energy to attack a couple more times. You just will be able to OTK, but not if they have like 3 different blockers and stuff like that. But still, it can really hurt. But that is all that I have for you today, and this is the Navi OTK deck. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I feel a little guilty using this deck, just because like it just OTKs out of nowhere. Somebody doesn't expect it, and I've had a few people literally just like leave the game immediately as soon as I get done using it. But there are some games where I have run into people also using this strategy. I haven't seen a pure Navi one-shot deck, but I have seen variations of it with multiple different leaders, so you can apply this to multiple different strategies. Sometimes all you need to do is take Navi's left arm and equip it to another leader, and then have the fairies in the deck as a like last option, not a last option, but like when there's like 2 barrier left, instead of doing this whole strategy of getting all the cards into your barrier hand. I've already seen multiple different types and variations of this deck, although I will admit sometimes whenever I see that, I'll swap to mine and be like, I'm the one who kind of made this, I know how it goes, and then I'll beat them with my one-shot deck and be like, yeah, this is the OG right here. That's a little bit of tooting my own horn. But either way, though, hopefully you'll take the deck, you'll learn from it, use it, just don't go too crazy with it. Like I said, it's a little powerful. But I hope you have a good day, and I'll catch you later.